Well, hi there, guys. This is your host, ID Jester. Thanks for checking out my video. Once again, this is part three. We're going to be looking at John Tiller Software and their different gaming systems. Specifically, we're going to be looking at Panzer battles and Panzer campaigns, but a lot of what we talk about will work on all of the different systems that they have. Of course, there's slight variations between them, but a lot of what we go over and talk about, you can transfer from this system to any one of the different systems out there. But if you're looking at Panzer battles and Panzer campaigns, then you'll feel right at home. So we've been looking at the interface and things to look at uh, when you're played your first couple battles. You've now you played your introductory scenario a couple times, and you may or may not have done very well. You've looked at your victory point locations. You know what you have to do to do that. You now have a little bit of experience moving your units around and moving them, but you're still not doing very well, and you're not understanding why or what's going on, and you need some further help. So that's what we're here to kind of give you an overview. If you're new to John Tiller's software and you're new to the gaming systems, there are things that you can learn to help you out, and hopefully these videos will do that. So last time we talked about hard targets and soft targets and understanding what they are and where they would be. Infantry unit out in the open, it's a soft target. Infantry unit inside a bunker, it's a hard target. So your units may or may not be able to shoot them from certain distances based upon what they do. In this episode, though, I want to show you if you've played this scenario maybe a time or two, maybe you've done some good things, maybe you haven't, but there's probably a couple things that you should or shouldn't have seen right off the bat. Number one is some of these units have these white bar underneath and some don't. And the white bar represents that it is in travel mode. You can see here on this unit down in the bottom left-hand corner, its movement is 24T, which means T means it's in travel mode. When you're in travel mode, you get this white bar. Travel mode is great to move your units around, but when you get near the enemy and they shoot you, you will take extra damage when you're in travel mode. You get more movement points to do more movement, but the deficit to that is you will take more damage. So you want to be in travel mode, move up to pretty close to the enemy, then you want to get out of travel mode. So if you were moving your units onto the beach in travel mode, they were probably taking a lot of damage. And as we looked at last time, specifically the victory conditions in this scenario, we need 40 points for a minor victory, 50 points for a major victory. Means we can't take unnecessary losses. We have to inflict more losses to the enemy just to get a minor victory and capture all of these victory points in 12 turns. We looked at doing some things with the interface. One thing I failed to mention last episode, which is ultra important, is go into Review tab and make sure you have on divisional markings. I'm going to turn them off for a second. So when I turn them on, you can actually see. In this scenario, it doesn't really matter because they all turn purple and they're all part of the same division. But if you play some other scenarios or bigger scenarios, you'll start to have more and more different colors, and that represents the different units that make up your different divisions. If we actually go to we can go to view, go to highlight, we can highlight our headquarters here. There is no headquarters with this one. Okay, so maybe because it's a basic scenario, they're just trying to give you the easy and not throw too much at you, which I can totally understand. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. We're in travel mode here. If we start running units across the beach, they're going to get shot at. We're going to take extra damage because we're in travel mode. Maybe some of you have read the manual. Maybe some of you understand that concept already. But we're like right here on the beach and we're wading ashore. And I don't think I want to be taking extra damage. Of course, we could move farther, but taking extra damage from the enemy. So I want to highlight my enemy, or I want to highlight my unit and then just change travel mode so he's no longer in travel mode. This can provide opportunity fire for your enemy. So you don't want to run right up adjacent to the enemy, switch out of travel mode because he might get some opportunity fire on you. Fortunately, this time he did not. So that was one problem you probably ran across, was running your units across the beach. But there's another more serious one, and if you're not familiar with the system or you don't understand some of the complex options of the system, you probably don't know this either. If we actually look at our unit, we right click, it gives us all this detail, but when we right click, it actually shows us our hex we're in. And notice it's in red. And what this shows us is how many units are in this hex. There's 120 units, as I can see by the number there. Yep, 120 men are in this hex, but it's in red. What's that mean? Well, that means we've got this hex overstacked. How do I know this? Well, there's a very helpful file that you should at least look at once you start learning the system and understand a little bit more. It's the parameter data dialog. And you can see here that the stacking limit is 80 men. Anything over 80 men is going to cause us to take more damage when we are attacked. There's a maximum of 200 men for road hex, meaning when a unit moves along a road, it can move up to 200 men along that road without taking any penalties. But once you get to that number or above that number, then it's just too many men on the road to move, and they kind of jammed up, and so you don't get the road bonus anymore. So you can't move to whole people, just tons and tons of people in this scenario down that road in 30 minutes, which is what these turn represents. You can find that out by the parameter data, actually. If you look, you can see here it starts at 6 o'clock dawn. It's going to end at dusk. Each turn is going to represent 30 minutes. So each turn, 30 minutes. Night turns are 60 minutes long, and does it have dusk or dawn turns? Yes. And most importantly, 80 men per hex. There is a lot of data here, and I mean a lot of data. And I don't expect you to go through and fine tune and analyze all of it. But anytime you are clicking on anything, whether it's a unit or a hex or anything, and you see a different color on it, you should look at that color and see what it's doing. Green, white, green, yellow, and red are the colors you're going to see. Red's usually meaning it's something bad, and in this case, you can see we're overstacked because we got 120 men. We can only fit 80 men in this hex. We got a lot of guys here in this hex. And if we're in travel mode, you can see right away that if I'm moving these units up on the beach and you're not familiar with the system, you're going to get a lot of enemy opportunity fire, and they're going to start killing your units, and you're going to be taking a lot of losses. And for every one of your men lost, you're going to lose victory points, and that's going to make the game harder and harder. So what we want to do is we want to actually take our unit here, and we want to change it out of travel mode. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we don't move more than 80 guys into a hex. Well, how do we do this? Well, the most important thing we can see on this counter, well, there's a lot of important things. Morale is ultra important. Morale is C. C is average. A is like your elites. B is like your superiors. C is like your normals. D's weak units. E is like your poor units. F are like your units that are in disarray. So it goes A to F. C is average. Fatigue 0 is actually good. You don't want to have any fatigue, so that's actually good. We're at 100% of men, so that's good. And our movement points are in green. It shows that we actually lost some movement points, but we haven't actually technically lost any. We went down movement points because we switched from travel mode. But the other thing to keep in mind is right here in the actual infantry box. This is the third. Well, if we right click, it'll tell us it's the 44th Infantry. It's part of the 1B 1/8 Infantry. It's B Section B of the 1/5 Infantry, and it's got that 3 in brackets. It's part of the 1/8th Infantry Battalion, part of the 8th Infantry Regiment, 4th Infantry Division, and 7th Corps of the U.S. And that's a lot, because if you're not like me and you're not an expert on platoons and companies and battalions and regiments, which I am really, really bad at that stuff. I am. I have to have a cheat sheet out in front of me. But this is actually helping me learn this. Well, the most important thing is this is basically got 3 companies that make up this battalion. See, my cheat sheet's helping. So there's 3 companies that are helping me here. And that's what that 3 is. It's 3 companies are in this battalion that makes up this unit. And what I can do is I can take and separate some of those units out of it. So I can go into command. I have to have it highlighted first. I go to command again and I can say I want to break down or I want to combine these units. And if I click it, you can see one of my companies has broken out from my battalion. Hopefully I'm getting all that right. So 40 men, part of my company. My company is made up of several platoons, which are made up of several squads, I believe. Still trying to remember all that stuff. So I got 2 companies here and I got 1 here, and each one is 40 men. So now I've got 80 men. Remember what our parameter data said. It is 80 men. Don't put more than 80 men or you're going to take extra damage. So if I take this guy and I move him onto the hex, opportunity fire might happen, but guess what? If I look at this now, look at that, no longer in red. So big difference between what I just did and if you take this unit and go, oh, let's just move this unit to score. Uh-oh, I took a man loss there. Partially, I mean, I could have taken a man loss anyways, but partially because I'm in travel mode and partially because I've got this hex overstacked with 119 guys because there's now a dead guy laying there. Poor Bob got a bullet in his head because you didn't know what you were doing. Over here, Fred is yelling over, no, not Bob. No, you got Bob killed. Oh my God. Anyways, you can see that now that we've moved up, you can see we've now got yellow movement points, which means we're getting to the point where we have like 1 move left. So it goes yellow, green, I'm sorry, white, green, yellow, and then red. So if we're at red or orange, in this case, I call it orange because it looks more orange. So this should be able to move another space here. If I wanted to, I could actually go into the parameter data, scroll down the list till I find movement costs for all my foot units, and I could just highlight and memorize this, but you don't need to. I mean, pretty much for clear hex at 6 movement points, you'll learn some of this stuff as you play. So I should be able to move another hex, so we're going to move up. Hey, no effect. That's what I'm talking about. Notice these units here have got a yellow box underneath them. Unlike our white box, this is yellow box. That means they're disrupted. Disrupted units are not their quality of the unit goes down. You can see their morale is lowered by 1 step when you're disrupted. When your morale goes down, you lose effectiveness in your combat. And if you're disrupted, you also are at half firepower. So good for us. Since we know what we're kind of doing at this point, we've now moved a unit up here. Fred is fine. Poor Bob over here, he's dead and, laying on the ground. But with all that said, this unit, see, is still got 16 movement points. We could move him a couple more spaces if we needed to or wanted to. So there is some advantages and disadvantages to doing, being in travel mode. But I would highly recommend, basically all the scenarios come down to, as the attacker, get the victory points, as many victory point locations as you can, and you still need to outbattle the enemy. You need to cause more damage to them than they cause to you to get a major victory. If you get all the victory point locations and you're about equal, then you usually get a minor victory. If you get most of the objectives and you outdeal the enemy, then you usually get a minor victory as well. So you can see if you only get some of the objectives and you battled the enemy equally, you're going to end up with a draw. So, you know, keep that in mind. Anyways, that was just another helpful video. Hopefully we'll learn some more as we get to play next episode. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care.